Hello guys, welcome back to another lovely trading video. In this one we're going to be doing stock analysis on Baba, which is Alibaba. Firstly as well though, quickly, if you are a follower or a subscriber of London Trading, have posted some new stuff in the Discord if you just want to check it out quickly. These are just the morning newsletters I read every day, find them quite helpful. And if you're subscribed to maybe 2, 3 or even 4, they're quick 3-minute reads usually, and you can kind of get insights. Most of them will be the same, so you can usually skip over those parts, but you may get different information from one that you don't for another. And you can also always go and look at the morning call, which is done by Reuters, a longer read, but does provide most of the information you would need before market opens. So to get straight onto it with Alibaba, this is one I am personally swinging along, but I'm now looking to close out. So you can see back here, we actually had our gap, and pulled back, and that low, this 152.80, was our first deviation on the daily, and that's where we decided to get long, for the reason we would most likely get a bounce. We did get that bounce, and as you can see, this move does look like it's finished. It looked like it's more of just a pullback to continue its downward trend. The reason for this pullback was this gap here. And as you'll see with Alibaba, it is quite a gapping stock, but whenever it gets these gaps, it will most of the time fill these gaps. So that's most likely what it did there. We have now created a small gap here, so it's likely that we could come back and into this level and just kind of fill that gap. But the problem with filling the gap is it doesn't have to happen within the next day, 2 or 3. It could happen weeks or even years down the line. So they're just kind of targets to look out for and just keep aware of, because those targets don't really change. However, going more onto the standard deviation technical basis side of things, we have already tested both our first deviation on the 4-hour and the daily, as you can see over here. We've broken through the first deviation on the 4-hour and are continuing down, and we're coming straight back into the first deviation on the daily. And you see that's where we bounced last time, but usually what will happen is you'll get a bounce off these levels as we did, but then you'll continue lower. And as you can see here, this is a great example. This was where this first deviation was, bounced off, came back down, retested, and this time broke through, and then instead waited for its next bounce entry, which was 153 or 152.80, roughly around that area, which is here. But now we're coming back to retest this, and we'll most likely break down lower. So for me, I'm closing out my swing, and if you are swinging long, obviously can't give financial advice, but that's where I'm personally now looking to kind of get out of this trade, because it does look like it's going to continue further down. So luckily I locked in some profits right at the peak of that pullback, so it will just end up being a break-even trade. And then we're going to continue downwards, and we will most likely not get a bounce until this 140 area, or should I say it might not get a bounce there, but this will be a bounce area if we come down to this level, I should say. Obviously that is a bit to come, but we will most likely hit that into the new coming trading week. So that will be our key buy entry of around 139.50 to around 140 would be that key area I personally would be looking at. And this will most likely be the key bounce level. However, if we do break further through here, which I do personally think is quite unlikely, I do think we'll get quite a strong bounce off this level, at least back, to maybe come and fill the gap over here that we created. So that's personally target. If I'm getting in at 140, that 160 area will be my target. However, if we do end up breaking lower down, 119 will be that next key level, and right below that you got the 114.75 will be the key level. As you can see on the daily, the next deviation below that is 84.50. Don't see us getting down to that level. I would be very surprised if we kind of crack past this 110 level. Don't see it really going past there. So I think we'll get a strong bounce off this 140, but if it does decide to break further down than that, I do think the end of the downwards move would be at that 120 to 115 area. Don't really see it breaking down further than that. Now, those are the main targets we're going to have in the near term, but I will give some upside targets just in case we end up breaking up from now on. And again, we most likely will have some hesitation coming back into this deviation at around 164.50. So not a level I would trade, but just a good level to maybe be a bit cautious of. if we can break through that, we have a kind of key level, would be around this 188 to 189. So kind of if you think of it as probably at the 188 to 190 level. Here you're coming into statistical mean. So what usually happens there, you can't really pick what direction it's going to go from there. It's really just a guess. But it will most likely have a strong reaction when it comes into that level either way. We'll either have a strong fall back to the 164 level, or we'll usually have a strong break up all the way up to around 215. So that is really a big key level, especially if you're looking straight to the upside, because if we can break through that level and hold it, especially with good volume, it will most likely continue up to that 215 level. So to the upside as well, targets would be 215, 223. And if we did break through that, 240 to 257 and 64. Again, these probably aren't going to be anytime soon. I just thought I'd provide them just so you have a rough estimate of kind of where we would be looking to bounce. So that is kind of the breakdown on Alibaba on where we have the price targets. What do I think it's going to do? I kind of already said that in the video, but I do think it will just continue down and probably break into a new low, the 52-week low, and come back down and probably come into this 140 level before we get a bounce. Again, when we get that bounce, it will most likely come on a short estimate 150 to the low 150s, but more likely than not, it will probably come back into the 164 and could actually also stop at this 153. So if we do bounce off this 140, if you're looking maybe to swing trade it, a good first profit target would be around this 152, 153 level. So hope you enjoyed this breakdown analysis on Alibaba. If you did, drop a like and subscribe. Hope to see you in the next one, and that's it. Peace.